If you want to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
Hey guys, it's Phil with the Minuteman Moment. For those of you that aren't aware, we just had a press conference by the president on curbing violence. But when he says violence, what he really means is gun control. If you've not been paying attention for the last year, he and mayors and governors across the country have been allowing groups of people to riot and destroy everything they see in sight. And so no wonder that there's been an uptick in violence and crime in general throughout the nation. But in today's press conference, he actually blamed that violence on you, the gun owner. So we're gonna go over 5 really short clips from today's press conference on what President Biden is calling gun violence. So let's take a look at this first one.
We discussed a comprehensive strategy that I'm releasing today to combat the epidemic of gun violence and other violent crime that we've been seeing in our country for far too long, that has spiked since the start of the pandemic over a year ago.
Let me stop it there. Why is it spiked? Because he's been letting people do whatever they want for the last 18 months.
Crime is historically rises during the summer. And as we emerge from this...
It also historically rises when you tell the police not to arrest anybody.
Emerge from this pandemic with the country opening back up again, the traditional summer spike may even be more pronounced than it usually would be.
Like I said, he's using the chaos that he helped create to talk about violence. So when he talks violence, he means gun violence. All right, let's go to the next one. And so in this one, he's talking about things that he says work. Background checks, in his words, assault weapons bans, bans on high-capacity magazines. These things don't work. The Obama administration said that they don't work. But the point is, it's not about whether or not he wants to ban or not ban assault weapons. These things are protected in the Constitution, and we use them either for self-defense or for sporting or for just a hedge against government tyranny. And that's important.
I've been at this a long time, and there are things we know that work that reduce gun violence and violent crime, and things that we don't know about. But things we know about, background checks for purchasing a firearm are important. Ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. No one needs to have a weapon that can fire over 30, 40, 50, even up to 100 rounds, unless you think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests or something.
All right, I should have said this at the beginning. It seems to me like the shot of B12 he got early in the morning is wearing out because he is struggling to get through this. But he's conflating two things. He's conflating the purpose of the firearm, owning a firearm, with a use. Hunting is certainly one of them. He's saying you don't need a 100-round magazine to go hunt deer. Maybe you don't, but that's not why we have them, and we know that. Okay, I love this talking point, and it's about the number of people who were denied a firearm because of a background check. He says it's 3 million, and we're going to get into it and then why he's wrong.
Background checks have thus far kept more than 3 million guns out of the hands of felons, convicted felons, fugitive, domestic abusers, and others prohibited from being able to purchase a gun. And there's still too many loopholes in that system.
What he should have said is that background checks have kept 3 million guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. That's because 95% of these returns as not able to have a firearm are false positives. That means the person should not have been denied. And he knows that. And yet he continues to use this line because on paper, it's showing 3 million people. But he knows, the ATF knows, or in Joe Biden's words, the AFT, which, by the way, he said AFT again in this press conference. He can't keep himself straight.
It means confirming my outstanding nominee to lead the AFT.
They all know that 95% of those returns are false positives, and those people should have never been denied in the first place. Okay, this next one is something that's not quite new in their toolkit of going after guns, but is talking about FFLs that are selling guns to people who shouldn't have them. He calls them rogue gun dealers.
And today, enough rogue gun dealers feel like they can get away with selling guns to people who aren't legally allowed to own them. And I might add, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun.
I don't know who these rogue gun dealers are. If you've been to an FFL lately, they dot every I and they cross every T because they are terrified of being raided by the feds. Because FFLs is a serious business, and every FFL I've ever been to across this country plays it very, very safe, and they do not want to lose their license. Here's another sleight of hand. They're always talking about closing the loopholes, the fake gun show loophole, the private transfer loophole, all the gun loopholes. Well, here now he is literally saying the loophole is in the law that was created to create the FFLs. In other words, not even the FFLs, which they created, are legal enough for the rest of us. He's literally going after the legal entities that were created to sell firearms. In other words, it's never enough. This is the one that I think is going to get the most press of anything he was said, because it's so insane, right? Let's just be honest. Why do we have a Second Amendment, right? We have it for home defense. We have it because they're fun. It's a good social thing to do with your friends. But at the end of the day, it's about preserving liberty, full stop, okay? And so what Joe Biden says here is so violent against Americans and other gun owners that you almost need to listen to it twice and think about it. Because what he says is, you can have all the AR-15s you want, but we have F-15s.
Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
Can you believe what this guy just said? If you try to defend your liberty, we are going to get the planes, which, by the way, as taxpayers, you pay for, and we are going to shoot you with them. And then we're going to drop nukes on you. That is probably one of the most insane things I've ever heard from an elected official, and I work in Washington, and I would know. Quote, "The tree of liberty is not watered with the blood of patriots. If you want to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons." Sounds like Joe Biden is making the case for us to have F-15s. Tanks. He's a very sick man. And what he just said should be viewed as a threat to all of us. I got one more. Joe Biden likes to talk about these so-called weapons of war and the AR-15. So let's hear what he has to say about the AR-15.
This kind of coordination is essential to keeping the weapons of war out of the hands of dangerous criminals, fugitives, and gangs, as well as organized crime.
To him, it's just a weapon of war. To us, as I just said, it's a way to preserve our liberties. It matters to us. We're self-conscious about it. That's what makes us different as Americans. We don't just want to be free. We consciously talk about being free. To take a line from the California case and Judge Benitez from a couple weeks ago, the AR-15 is like a Swiss Army knife. It has a lot of applications. And one of them is for the self-conscious preservation of liberty. Biden and anybody else can call them weapons of war, but we know that they're not, and we're not going to be cowed to that. So I wanted to go over really quickly some of these clips. I thought they were important. GOA thought they were important. Check out the website, see what we've got on there. Go to gunowners.org. Watch some of the old Minuteman videos, because a lot of these themes that we're talking about, whether it's polymer 80s, whether it's using emergencies to regulate guns through the bureaucracy, these are all things we've talked about before. So go ahead and check out some of our old videos. Let us know down below in the comments what Joe Biden said that upset you the most. And, maybe we'll try to make a video on it for you. All right, I'm Phil with the Minuteman Moment. I'll see you next time.